the lovely view of Menzies out in WA. These pits look a little bit different today. They're as we are mining today, there's obviously no water in the bottom of them, and we're actually sitting. You can see a ROM pad there on a mine pad. That's now got about 50,000 tons of ore ready to go off for milling. We changed sort of they added a bit of a changes to the cover there, just mentioning that as we've announced to the ASX, not only are we a gold producer explorer, there's now a potential that we're going to be a green metals explorer, and by that I mean the platinum, the nickel, platinum, PGE, and various other metals, which you can see in our announcements. So just looking at that, just to bear in mind where we are, I'd say that you really got to look at our mining and exploration business models, best summed up as unlocking and adding value to low risk historic mineral resource discoveries in premier mining districts in Western Australia and Queensland. We believe both our projects have potential to be upgraded into world-class tier 1 assets. And you'll probably hear that theme a lot today about tier 1 assets, but I think we really do have something here. The interesting thing to bear in mind with our projects, both of them sit on bitumen roads, very close to mining centres. Menzies being 130 kilometres north of Kalgoorlie, and our Mount Mackenzie project sitting about 150 kilometres from Rockhampton over in Queensland. Going to the next slide. So we say, let's dig in. Why get involved? We've still got, I think, a very conservative market cap. I think our market cap's probably pretty underpinned by our gold exploration and mining activities at the moment. It is what it is. It takes time and presentations like this to put the word out there, to let the world know at large that we've got a world-class project. And if you are looking to invest in commodities and base metals in Australia, safe mining jurisdiction, we are really one to have a good deep down look at. We have some resources across the assets that we have, the two of them. We will update this over this year. We believe that, while we show a very conservative 100,000 ounces of gold resource at the moment, that is the ability to be, especially with the discovery at Gigante Grande, which I'll come into in a moment, to be upgraded into, as time goes on, you move up to your 1 million ounce resource, and then the 2 and 3. These are, as that photo will probably depict there, the very, very large contiguous mining blocks or exploration blocks as well. We have in a good mining district. So as we show, there's irrefutable evidence of gold. We're exploring to bring up our JORC resource and the ounces, but we get 3 out of 4 holes. We get discoveries, and you'll see that our discoveries are really good and taken in context of the mining that's ongoing at the moment. This is in the case of Menzies, we say it's a couple of 100-year-old. It's been mined on and off since the 1880s, and with mining required 19 grams a ton to today, where we're showing that we can make that 3 grams a ton work really well through the local mills. So what you get is the business as usual downside protection, cash flow generator coming out of WA, and I'll touch upon Queensland as well, which we think we can put that into mining as well. We have unrefutable evidence of green metals in the area. They've been overlooked since I think 2006 in a way, but where we've gone back and we've shown to the ASX, to the market there, the 2 earlier reports, which I'll go into later on, showing that there's a potential for a nickel sulfide play here as well. I think we've got a skilled team and board to back all this, and I'll go into that a little bit later. So just to give you context where the mines sit, we've got there on the east coast of Australia, Mount Mackenzie. You see close to Rockhampton, a good place to be. There we've got a mineral development lease, which we're at the moment converting into a mineral lease. On the west coast, I'd say our signature project there being the Menzies Goldfields project, which looks like it's slowly developing into a nickel sulfide project as well. So we'll focus on Menzies. Sits there on the green belt right at the top of it. I think things from that takeaway, when you look at that picture I've got there, you'll see where we sit is probably quite important that we sit on these two shear zones, especially the Moriarty shear. They probably the existence of those and where we are makes our minerals very shallow. We obviously got visible gold at times and visible nickel and gossings at surface, but we find very good grades quite early on, and you'll see this from if you dig down on some of our mining announcements there, that we only really drill to 180 meters. A lot of the time we're going down between 100 and 120. But because we've got the land and the long strike zones and the way that we like the idea of running open cut mines, we really haven't gone down further yet. This year, I think we'll see that we'll go below the 180 meters, and I'd like to see, especially down south in Springfield, that we actually put in some really deep holes around 300 meters and 500 just to see what's there. But in the meantime, we're pretty happy with what we get in these very, very shallow zones. Really important to note there with consolidation of 48 leases. Where that's important is that previous explorers in the area only had the access to smaller parcels of mining leases and exploration leases, and this is now an amalgamation of all these leases, making it a very big project from north to south, about 20 kilometres, 23 kilometres, and 100 square kilometres across all the blocks there. This is just a close-up of our Menzies project, showing all the leases. What's interesting about Menzies is that there's a big body of work. A lot of money's been spent on it, and we've got basically a data room full of information. When we came to light recently about the nickel in the area, we could then look back on what earlier explorers had done, because we kept all the data in one spot, and see why a helitim necessarily doesn't bring up the showings of the nickel sulfides, and what we need to do now is bring in more information through drilling and aeromagnetics and downhill magnetics to try and work how that flows, and getting the expertise in there. You'll see, we've had tremendous exploration success on the gold at Menzies. We have hit 70, or so there, my head's in the way, 76 grams. It's the opposite, I think. 76 grams a ton at Gigante Grande, and 33 grams a ton, which we announced in January at Maranoa. And so, I mean, the first one did light things up, but I think you'll see that not only do we hit these really high grade zones of gold, we also have this more disseminated lower grade but more consistent gold along, and that will come up in the presentation further along. This is Menzies Gigante Grande. The reason to bring this up, this is a major discovery on what is a really old gold mining site that we have. We brought this up this came up during an air core drilling campaign, and then we drilled it, and we just got these very consistent long grades, which is really important because Menzies has often been pigeonholed as being a super high grade narrow vein gold exploration play, of which it is. But on top of it, we can see this gold. Well, this strike zone is we really like it in particular because we've opened up about 500 meters in length, north to south, where you see these really good numbers in gold. We know these numbers are good because over at Grande, Venn, where we've now been mining since September, we see similar grades, which you'll see further on in the presentation. And we know it works really well. We know it's very easy to put on a ROM and then get it into a local mill, should we want to use the third parties for everything we do. I hope one day Menzies probably does everything locally in its own right, but we're obviously too small in market cap size really to go there. But that we know with time we'll get the gold resource up to be able to move on to something more local. Those numbers are really worth looking at. And Gigante Grande, by name and by nature, looks like it could be up to 5 kilometres, even 8 kilometres long, north to south. And it's funny, you look along that Moriarty shear and go further north, we haven't drilled at all towards Cock Robin. There's been recorded gold discoveries there of 98 grams a ton. That's how it looks from a side cut. The year now is to really, how do we present these results, get these maps and various diagrams up to scratch to really give you a view to see just how simple and easy it is, and why we seem to hit 3 out of 4 shots seem to hit gold. It's really quite a simple exploration play it is. It's just as you'll know, that on this, once you have found these, it's all about drilling it out as much as possible to build up a JORC resource. You'll see there these numbers where we're really happy to show that the conservative numbers in with the big ones, because you'll see that 115 meters at 1.33 grams a ton of gold from 18 meters of depth is absolutely phenomenal, and well justifies the 20 million market cap odd that we have, or on any given day we bounce around between there and 30 million. We have a so in just in the gold play alone, we still think we're quite cheap. Okay, so just touch upon, I put a little photo collage there of what it's like out there. We've got our first bar of gold that's Doré there that occurred last year. We've had Toll 1 and Toll 2 take place. I could plaster this with millions of photos and updates for those mining buffs. It's pretty exciting to see these old pits back into action. They're working now at the bottom of the pit. I've mentioned that we have very low strip ratio down there, and all of the ore coming out is grade, has a gold grade in it, which can go to mill. Let's see, the transformation of that Grande Venn pit has been quite exciting for us, and it's got put some wind in the sails about looking where the next mining operations we can commence out at Menzies, given that we have got mining leases and we've proved to date that we can put gold through a mill locally. Just to update you on that, you'll see that the numbers there are actually quite strong on the left. Those grades are from the control drilling that occurs when you're mining, and so they're quite exceptional to get and to see those numbers above and below that ends up on the ROM that goes to the mill. That to just clarify, on our last quarterly we didn't show any revenue despite gold production. That is due to that we work project by project, so it's not until 120,000 tons, more or less, is mined and gone through the mill that we then draw a line on the profit, which I'll say profit for now, but the profit or loss where we take 50% of profits that are mined from that identified piece of ore. So we would hope that we'll move on. Then I'll just touch on just before that. So we've already, on that 33 grams a ton that we showed in January, that was us doing a little bit drilling around Maranoa, which Maranoa is another Grande Venn style deposit, which we're working with our BMGS to see whether it's suitable as the next mining site for Menzies. 33 grams a ton, I'd say we're onto something there. We just need to confirm it with some more drilling as a suitable site. I'd say that the numbers out of Gigante Grande also lend themselves to be an early to mine sort of site as well. But we'll watch that space, and we'll bring out a plan when we're ready. So just a quick pivot towards this new find. I'm working with the team now with Mike Johnson, a very senior geo, who's then taken on the services of Ben Gregoric, who is a more experienced geo particularly in nickel sulfides, and we are working now to and have drilled a part of this Springfield, which is in the south, and the idea is the idea came there is when we picked up these two reports, BHP Rio. I mean, for those of you who don't know, we basically have a very large piece of land, which is clearly a gold field in the north, and in the south, it's looking more and more. We might have just discovered a nickel, the holy grail of nickel fields here. I'm calling it that. The drilling which I've showed, the results I've showed to the ASX seem to marry up with what we've discovered in these older reports. Now, these they weren't looking for the nickel sulfides; they're looking for gold at the time. They're getting 2 grams per ton, so they moved on these smaller tenements. Today, that would be for us, it'd be quite an exciting prospect just for gold alone. But we're hoping that we can unlock some nickel sulfides down there with the other group of metals. I mean, those metals that we've reported already include cobalt, chrome, zinc, copper, platinum, palladium, amongst others. I think there's even some zinc in there. And I like to say that we try and work closely with what we've seen that Chalice has done in the last couple of years to show that as the sum of parts, it's a very interesting discovery. and hopefully we can show that it's widely spaced. But that will just come with time and money on drilling. We've definitely got the expertise in the space to move this project forward as well. So this is at Menzies. And there's another slide on all that which is going on. We've made some announcements to the market, and I think they should be read more carefully as to how interesting this nickel sulfide project could develop. Okay, so just moving along to Mount Mackenzie. I don't spend a lot of time on this, but this is a very interesting project, and it's a big silver resource up to 800,000 ounces, 130,000 odd ounces of gold. This is a mineral development lease, which in order to mine it like we're mining over in Menzies to achieve the same similar outcome, we need to just convert it to a mineral lease, a mining lease, sorry. So the difference being is one is just for artisanal mining, which is set up, and the next one is going through the relevant environmental studies and proving up where we're getting the water from and various other things. So the idea with this mine would be to get it into production next year. We work out a joint venture way to do it, and really is a quite a big target of revenue and gold there. The real idea is to turn this into a concentrate play. We think we can do it. We'll put some news flow out of that when the time is right, and if we can do it concentrate, we're going to increase the return on that quite significantly. So that's just a map of where Mount Mackenzie is and where we are with that. So Tim, I think I might have hit my 15 minutes in all of that. And so I'll just quickly buzz on a team there from Michael Johnson leading up the exploration. Whenever Mike's got gaps in his knowledge, he's more than happy to, we bring on the contracting in that space. I think it's a very efficient way of doing it. And once we lock down a reasonable market cap and size and pivot towards where we're going to be, we can build out that more as a more permanent team there. And we've got on a board level, Gavin Rezos as chairman, and Richard Paul as a director as well, and Warren Kemba as chief mining officer. Missing from here is Gareth Thomas, who is now running he's a mining engineer who's running Mountain Mac up to a level where we can look at then putting a mill on site and getting production out of those two resources we have there in silver and gold. So I guess if I'd like to sum up, that's Mountain Mac there. Hopefully that's not there in 2 years' time, and it's all gone through a mill and sitting, returned a decent amount of money to shareholders. So I guess where we stay at the moment, I think I mentioned Chalice early on. I think it's pretty clear to say that we at a moment where the budget is probably more around the gold exploration, a bit of money sitting into nickel exploration, and then a bit of the budget going in there to extending the mining leases. So I would say that they had a budget there for 3 million for gold and 70,000 for nickel, and then when the nickel took off, I guess the rest is history. And I don't know where we will be in the next 3 to 6 months, but I think we're underpinned by gold, and I think we're cheap on that compared to our peers. I don't think you find many juniors with a 20 million market cap are actually producing gold doré, who are also talking about producing mine out of another asset. But if we do continue to have some success down in, which I think we have already, showing those numbers to you of the nickel down in south of Springfield, we might be a little bit of a different story next time I'm presenting it at one of your mining conferences.